be like if for one day you just didn't complain, like complaining wasn't an option? What would you do?
Today I'm in Chicago with the founder of No Complaints Day, King Kirin. As a business and life coach and through his music, Joe inspires the best in people and lives out his mother's gift of no complaining. I'm Tai Chi. At 19, I was a superstar and I was lost inside. I left it all behind, switched continents, and started all over. Years later, I found myself lost again, this time in the American dream. This is a story about awakening, about living the life you were created for, about going inward and discovering the joyous and purposeful person you and I are both meant to be. This is Waking Up in America. So, what if you could actually create your waking up moment by introducing a huge shift in how you live a day, one day in your life, by not complaining? Do you think that's possible? So in August of last year, I actually tried that. And I have to say that within first 3 hours, I failed 7 times. And then I complained about failing. So I decided, I'm just gonna try again. But luckily, this was on a special day created by an amazing man I met through several people on my journey, including Penny, a great singer-songwriter from Nashville. And this guy, Joe, created this No Complaint Day challenge that went viral last year. And luckily, he gave a set of rules that helped me get through my day. So, Joe, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for finally being on my show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, okay, Joe, give me a little bit of background. How did you grow up? Something about yourself that you'd like viewers to know.
Well, I grew up in the Chicagoland area in a suburb called Lyons. And my parents are both Croatian. And as we grew up, my dad used to play tamburica music. And eventually, through the lodges that they had in Chicago, they formed a junior Croatian folklore group in which I learned how to play tamburica myself and learned to sing and dance. But I didn't dance too much. I stayed with the tamburica and I played for dancing. That was by design. And
because you don't like to dance?
I realized I didn't at that time. I didn't like dancing with girls at the time. I do today.
Nice.
I wish I knew that back then.
How old were you then?
9 years old.
9 years old. Yeah, that's a tough time to dance with girls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's funny because my dad played guitar all of his life, and I never saw him dancing.
Oh, really?
Something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that Croatian background. I thought that Croatians complain most of all, and here you are. Did you grow up with a lot of complaining in your family?
A lot of complaining? Well, I think we had the same amount of complaining as any family has anywhere else. There's always something to complain about every day. Certainly
weather,
for everybody, the weather,
And so then now you live in Chicago, and you mostly play, and music is your passion and work.
Music is one of my passions in life. Making a difference for people is another passion, and I really enjoy participating in those two passions of mine. It's just what I love to do and really enjoy it, and I'm glad I have the opportunities to do that.
So now tell us about the No Complaining Day. How did that come to be?
How that came to be is in April of 2014, my mother passed away. And as I was going through the year, her birthday is in August 12th, in fact. And about 10 days before her birthday came up, I was on Facebook just like everybody else, and I was looking through all the posts that people would post, and I started to notice the amount of complaining people do on Facebook, and they complain about something, and then it's there, and then it's gone. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't do anything for the complaint, and it doesn't really change anything. It just, you might say, begets more complaining.
Yeah, it just clutters the space.
Yeah,
That's
and it just brings more complaining aboard. And I thought, geez, what would it be like if for one day you just didn't complain, like complaining wasn't an option? What would you do? How would your day be? And while my mom was sick for the first 3 months of the year, I noticed how little she complained about the challenges that she faced, in particular her health challenges, whether doctors or nurses asked her to do something that would at times would just be like surprised they would have her do that, but she just met that challenge and took it on with courage and dignity, and I thought that was inspiring. And I thought, well, maybe we could have that day on her birthday, and from those thoughts, the No Complaints Day challenge got born.
Yes, and sometimes those big life moments when we're faced with illness, or we come to a place in life where we realize, okay, the complaining is not going to help me. If I shift my attitude, maybe that will do more for me and my health. And usually I'm talking really about those waking up moments. And so it seems to me that you try to use that because your mother was such a witness to why complain, right? It's not going to do much. But you're saying, what if we can, without this wake up call, without this something that puts us in this situation where what if we could consciously not complain and then see what happens to us, and how that action, right, shifts and creates the wake up moment.
Exactly, and you make a great point there, is that most people don't realize or notice the amount of complaining they do from day to day. And when you shine a light on it, people become aware of it, and they were like, wow, I didn't know I did that, or I didn't know I was complaining about that so often. And it makes a difference. There's actually something they can do about it rather than being at the effect of their own complaining.
Yeah, we create our own thought process and our own culture of thought that tricks us into it actually creates the existence, creates our reality.
Exactly.
So what happened on August 12th last year?
Well, a whole lot of people from around the world took on the challenge. After first few days of creating the event on Facebook, I thought we'd have 25, 50, even 100 people I thought would be a great thing. But it just grew, and by the time the day came around, about 6,000 people had said that they would participate, and there was people from, I remember, China and Brazil and all over Europe, and it was very cool to see people, India, and to see people wanting to participate, and also that they saw it as something of value that might make a difference for them. And some people didn't even know if they could do it, but they said, no, I'm going to do this anyway. I think you were one of those people.
Yes. But and somebody also brought up a good point. What if somebody else is complaining? And you had a little guidance on that.
If somebody else is complaining,
right,
is to just let them complain, right? Mm-hmm. Just let them have their say about whatever they want to say. Maybe they're not playing the challenge, but it's okay.
Because you can't complain about them not complaining.
Well, you could. But like I said, I think if you wind up complaining and you fall off the horse, you dust yourself off and just move forward. Nobody got disqualified.
Yes. I love that rule. And I also liked what you said, it's not adding something onto your already, busy life and cluttered thoughts, right? You're actually releasing something.
You're taking something out of your day that might make a difference for you.
What made a difference in your life? Have you had a waking up moment?
Well, in doing the challenge, I started to see the complaints I have about myself. I started to see the complaints I have about others, and I don't even speak about them. They just resonate in my mind. And now from moving forward from that moment, whenever I think about the challenge, or I think about, we had wristbands that we have from the challenge, it gives me access to, in that moment, to say, okay, do I need to complain about this? Or is this a complaint that I really want to complain about going forward? Or is it a complaint that I actually want to do something about and resolve it so it's no longer a complaint for me?
Excellent point. So years ago, when my kids were very little, I was at a certain store. It was a big store, big chain store. And I was there with one of the babies in the car seat, and he was crying, and he needed to be nursed, and my toddler was in the cart, and I pushed the cart on the wrong side of the cashier. And so she said, "I'm not going to help you. I can't push the cart for you because your children are in there." And so she said, "So you have to take." I mean, anyway, it was a big deal. My kids were screaming. Everybody's looking at me. And I said, "But just please help me." She said, "No, I can't help you. And you need to just leave the store because I'm not going to even help you." Like, they literally, like, I just felt like I wanted to complain. And I said, "I wanted to complain." And she said, "No, you're going to leave the store." So, okay, so I left the store. And then I said, "Okay, I'm not going to, I'm powerless. Can I complain? Who can I complain to? Is there a valid time to complain?"
I think people always have situations where they have legitimate complaints and they can take action about those complaints. There's certainly times when people have a legitimate complaint that they should take it to a manager. Certainly, all of us have been in a restaurant from time to time where we've gotten service that was lacking or it didn't meet our expectations, and it's okay to complain. It's another thing to have the complaint and then leave with it and then complain to everybody else about that complaint and you do nothing about it. You actually talk to people that can't do anything about the complaint.
There's a good point, yes. You direct your complaint to a wrong person and you just releasing the bad energy.
Exactly.
Where it's not directed properly.
Exactly. And if somebody can't do anything about your complaint, every time you speak about that complaint, I don't think people notice that it actually makes them feel worse.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think people get so used to doing it, they don't realize that you actually feel stress or irritation from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having it not be resolved.
Yes.
And the moment it's resolved, it's gone, it's off the table, and you move on. And most of the time, I would think people move on freely. Lighter.
Yes, absolutely. And you shared with me you are actually, you're passionate about helping people, and you said that earlier. And of course you do that through music, but you also do it through coaching. And you shared with me you have some tools to offer?
Well, it's always been there for me to help people, to talk to people. And through the years, I've done all kinds of different, read books, or I've participated in programs. I did a lot of programs at Landmark, and I got a lot of training there. And as I improved myself and I increased my training, I became better, more effective at helping people. And the more effective I became, the more I loved to do it, and the more it made a difference for people. So I really love helping people, and the No Complaints Day Challenge is a tool in and of itself that people could just use. You don't have to just use it on August 12th. You could use it any day. In fact, I suggested that people use it on Thanksgiving of this year. Where are there no more complaints than at Thanksgiving, a dinner table at Thanksgiving, right? So, but quite a couple hundred people said, "Yeah, I'm going to do that too, just to see, what it's like, what can happen."
Yeah.
So they use that tool on that day.
Well, thank you so much. Just bringing anything into our awareness, these habits that we create, we develop, that really prevent us from living the life we're created for, from being who we are made to be. I really believe that. So thank you. And as a Croatian, I'm so happy that so, my children are kind of like in your shoes. I'm Croatian, my husband is not, but they're growing up obviously as Americans, and
Yes.
try to teach them Croatian. So when I hear someone like yourself speak and has this love for Croatian music and all music, actually, it's really, really big gift. So thank you.
Thank you. It's great having your partnership and making a difference in the world.
Oh, thank you. And of course, we're going to challenge our viewers to take up the No Complaints Challenge, and we'll of course have links to Joe. King. How did you get the nickname King?
King?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, It's actually my middle name. And it was my dad's middle name, too.
How beautiful.
Yes. So that's where that came from.
Wow.
I wasn't self-appointed.
You were so funny. That's great.
And by the way, we're going to have an August 12th of 2015 will be our second annual No Complaints Day Challenge.
Oh, yes. By then, we'll flood the earth.
Yes,
with
exactly.
No complaints. Absolutely. So, yes, pick up any day or just on any day. Try to see, try to be aware of the complaining that you do and see if you can do without. Except when there's legitimate complaint directed to the right person. Sometimes a good way to stay away from complaining is to sing. In Croatia, a few years ago, I was traveling with a team of people I worked with there, and all these young people, and there was 2 of us girls and 3 guys, and we spent 4 hours in the car, and the entire time these guys were singing just song after song after song, and through these songs it was almost like they were releasing whatever it was on their heart and speaking, expressing what they were feeling. And you shared something similar, that through music you find.
Totally. Through music, I'm sure you know this, you just forget about any kind of complaints you have.
Yeah.
And just express yourself in your music and the words.
And sometimes you can, and that's why I think it's some people say, I don't sing. And I've heard a lot of people say, I don't sing. And I often think, is it fear? Because when you sing, your entire inside, your heart, your soul gets into that frequency, of your voice, of the breath that carries the voice. And there's a connection, I believe, with God, with the divine. But sometimes it's scary because what comes out of that soul? Sometimes we get so touched and moved and to tears. The tears start rolling. I experience that in my concerts. People, just experience that music and they involuntarily start crying. But you said, yes, you not only forget about your complaints, but you can really release and let go. But for some people, it's scary sometimes.
Yeah, many times after I've played a gig or something, by the end of the night, I don't remember half the complaints I walked in with.
One more thing I want to ask you. What about complaints we have about ourselves?
I think those are probably the most important to notice. I think the complaints we have about ourselves often show up in the complaints we have about other people. And I think if you deal with the ones that you have about yourself, or at least give yourself some space for your humanity, I think you'll wind up giving space to everybody else and have a whole lot more peace for yourself and for your others and for your life and for the world.
And nobody says it's easy.
No.
But it helps us to open up. And music is that's where I feel music helps to like silence and like these tools that we talk about to wake up. So
Exactly.
Let's sing.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. What are you gonna the song that you're gonna sing?
It's called Da te mogu pismom zvati, which you know, and I think that translates to if my song calls to you, then I'll sing forever.
Forever, yes.
Ti za me si bila karosa na cviću, sa usana pila i ljubavi sriću, a ja bi ti pismom ti priči, još ljubavi ima, kao ulja u cvići. Da te mogu pismom zvati, ja bi piva život cijeli, da se barem opet vrati vrijeme kad smo sridni bili, da te mogu pismom zvati, ja bi piva, ne bi staja, da se stara ljubav vrati, ne bi pismi bilo kraja, da te mogu pismom zvati, ja bi piva, ne bi staja, da se stara ljubav vrati, ne bi pismi bilo kraja, da se stara ljubav vrati, ne bi pismi bilo kraja. I forgot to take a breath.
Beautiful. No, that was great. You're complaining.